Hey, what's going on, family? Today's video, I'm going to actually disassemble a garage door opener that I got during the installation. I'm kind of curious what's inside and what really went wrong in this particular garage door opener. Stay tuned. Hey, my name is Kenny, and I am the owner of Robinson Handy and Technology Services based in Montgomery, Alabama. This video, I'm going to disassemble, like literally open the case of a garage door opener that I removed about a couple of weeks ago. The opener that I removed, the customer stated that the opener just stopped working, and based on the analysis, I figured the springs on the garage door are not properly tightened, and of course from that the garage door opener burned itself out from the additional force that it had to apply in order to open and close the door. That being said, I wanted to take it apart before I take it off to the scrapyard because it's functionally not working anymore, and just wanted to look inside to see what was inside. So you get to see that, and hey, maybe we'll learn something together. All right, first things first, we have the garage door opener on the workbench. This is the chain and track and everything else that goes on it. I believe, oh yeah, it's all the way down there. Let's see if we can get that to move. It may not even move any, but the turnbuckle thing is all the way down on the other end. And not sure if I need to, I probably do need to move that down here so you all can see what I'm doing first. All right, so I was able to loosen the chain up on that end. There's a little drive down there that you use to loosen things up with. So now to get this off of here, which it is loose enough, so. And there's that. All right, so next step is to get this track off and use this impact socket that I have here. Actually, this cover here is hanging on by a thread. All right, so that bolt is out. And by the way, I have no intentions of putting this back together, so I'm not going to even try to remember how to put it back together. All right, next will be these two, which are flat heads. Adjust the tooling here. All right, that's off, and one more. All right, we have this track. So we have a gear assembly, which, as you see, is just sitting down in there. Probably could have used some lubrication in there, but I guess not. Definitely dusty. And then this is the track. It just bolts to the top in these two holes. And so here is that motor housing. So now that we have this iron track disconnected, we can throw that out the way. All right, so next we just have the motor box. So first things first, let's see if we can get this plastic cover off of here. That takes a Phillips head screw. So swap out our attachments. Problem solved. All right, and now we have just the motor housing. Whoop. Sounds like we have a loose screw inside. Okay, that's not music, but yeah. All right, so looking at things, I think I'm gonna start on the sides here with disassembly. So we change back to the flathead. All right, that's one screw. Got screws on the sides here. Oh, by the way, this is a overhead door Legacy. Let's see if we have a model here. Yes, we do. It's a 1/3 horsepower model 496 CD/B. It is rated at 120 volts and 5 amps. Does this have a date of manufacturer? Okay, so I'm assuming this sticker here, it has a week, year, P, and I. I'm not sure what the P and I stand for, but the week would be is 03, and then the year is 08. So the third week of 2008. So somewhere around Martin Luther King Day of 2008, this was manufactured, or at least assembled. We'll go with assembled because it may not have been all completed on that same day. All right, so we got two of the covers out of here. All right, just keep taking screws apart until the thing opens up. Is that on the internal? No, maybe. There we go. All right, so now we're making progress. Then I'm curious what that noise is on the inside. All right, so that's an interesting setup. We have a motor here, which is connected then to, I guess this is like a gearbox or transmission of sorts. And then from there on the far side is the control board. Our ground wire grounds, well, that doesn't make sense. The ground, well, I guess the top and bottom are grounded to each other. And then there's maybe another set of ground somewhere else in there. All right, so let's go ahead and get this back cover off. Yeah, okay. And this side cover as well. I guess the bottom come out now. Yep, there we go. So the bottom is metal. Ooh, wow. We had this a wasp, or maybe there's a dirt diver nest. I'm not sure which one that is, but that's an interesting find. More likely the house was probably vacant at some point, and the critter was able to go in and out as he pleased and set up shop inside of the garage, which, to be honest with you, is basically protection inside of protection, because while it gets hot inside of a garage, it doesn't rain. All right, next we have flipping this over, and let's see if we can get this cover off here. Come on. All right, so we have our light bulb socket, so we can go ahead and disconnect that. Should be simple to wobble, come on. All right, since it doesn't want to give, and not like I'm keeping this, cut. There we go. All right, so what we have here, and okay, so those are the other screws in the control board. Ta-da! We got a plastic parts pile. All right, and so here's what we have. So we have a motor, as you see here. This is a capacitor, 60 microfarads. Yep. And then we have essentially a drive box or gearbox here. And then this was the adjustments. So putting this back where it was. So on this side, it says close more. On this side, it says open more. And then there is, here it says limit adjustment, close, open. All right. So this was the limit adjustment. And I'm assuming as the motor turned, it would come all the way around, and then these two stops here, this one here and this one here, would control the distance that was open and closed. And so once the door, as you see, it was in the closed position with this being here. When the door was opened, this would spin around, and it probably won't budge because it's a gearbox. Well, let's see if we can move this a little bit. It's got a little bit of movement here. I don't know if it's actually moving or not. Doesn't feel like it's moving. Okay. But you have two basically pressure switches or sensors. And so once this, I don't know the official name of this, but basically when this or this one gets all the way around, it will press the button, that red thing that's in there, if you can see it right there. Each one has a red button, and it basically says once it gets to this particular point, this will complete the circuit or open the circuit depending on how it's configured. And from there, the electronics will know, okay, stop the motor. It's essentially what we call a limit switch in electronics. All right. So we have a capacitor here. We also have this power cord here, which may or may not be useful. Everything goes to the control board. Let's take the control board out and see if we notice anything on that. Well, that's just a holder. And there's another screw. Got it. All right, so this is the control board. And we have, this is the antenna with a transformer, several integrated chips, and our adjustments, as well as our terminals for the various sensors. And it is a very basic control board from what I can tell. Let's see. And that disconnects. And so, let's see what else we have on here. So this is a relay. It appears that these are 3 different types of relays, each one rated at 10 amps, max of them 250 volts. So I'm not sure. You would have a relay for up, a relay for down, but I'm not sure what the third relay would be for on this particular one. Probably would have to go look at the schematic for this mother or this board here to be able to make that determination. But everything on the board itself looks fine. I'm not seeing any blown capacitors or anything else of that nature that sometimes you may see when things go wrong with them. I do see a resistor here, and it's kind of difficult to point at. But I do see a resistor on this board that may have had or may have seen better days. So if you see right there, maybe a little bit difficult to see, but there's a little bit of burn around that terminal and that terminal. It does not show to be burned on the other side though. So that could be minor. All right, so that's that for the control board. All right, continuing on, I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, which is the motor. Now I will say this here, I didn't point this out earlier, but this here is so on the control board, and if I can line this back up correctly. So on the control board here, you see how those two line up? And this is basically for your people that are familiar with cars, this would be like a cam sensor of sorts. And so when this, I don't know if this has a sensor. Actually, yeah, it looks like an infrared sensor is on either one or both sides of these. And so as the motor moves, it can see these various cogs on the end of the motor here, and it can count and can also know how fast the motor is moving based upon counting the number of pins, I'll call these pins, the number of pins that pass through in a given second. So even though this is 2008 technology, it's very in line with what is still being used today for some other applications, similar to like automotive vehicles that have cam sensors to know how to do the timing of the fuel injection system. All right, so I am not going to fool with this capacitor because it may have some safety things. So what I am going to attempt to do at least is to make sure all of the power that is on the capacitor has gone away. And you do that by just tapping the connections to each other, and that capacitor should discharge itself. All right, so we should be good to go on that. So we'll go ahead and take the capacitor off of here. Move our power cord out the way. And this is somehow still clamped down. That should come out though. All right. There we go. So we can pull all of these off of there. So that's what happened. So I think we have found the culprit. So if you see right there in the top, and it'll be kind of difficult for me to point it out, but the capacitor here has popped. And as you see, it is soft. I believe this is what the problem was with the garage door not working anymore. And if you know anything about electric motors, you know that a lot of times the capacitor, if the capacitor goes, the motor won't run. And given that the springs on this particular garage door opener had, the springs on the garage door had or were not tight enough, the additional load that was required from this capacitor would have or could have contributed to this capacitor giving way. So that being said, this motor may actually still be some good, but given the age of it, at this point, it is 2022. And as I mentioned, it said 2008. Let's see if there's a, there is no manufacturer date on here, on the motor itself, that is. And so based on that, I will say that, okay, this motor is at this point 14 years old, mental math. And I mean, it looks perfectly, the motor itself looks perfectly fine, but knowing that this capacitor has seen better days, yeah. And to be honest, the customer probably could have got some more life out of this garage door opener, given that it was the capacitor that actually has given out and not necessarily the motor. All right. We'll flip this over really quickly. And so everything else looks perfectly fine. The motor itself does not look, normally you'll see like broken coils inside of here, but everything looks really fine. I mean, to be honest, the motor itself is probably the cleanest part of it, second to this gearbox that's over here. So, I mean, I may even take this motor off. I don't know what I would use it for, but this motor is, let's see. So this is a 120 volts, 1/3 horsepower motor, has a RPM of 1500 and has a capacitor of 58. Or it says cap 58. I'm not sure what cap 58 is. I thought it was capacitor, but maybe not. But everything else looks fine. So it looks like this capacitor was the culprit of the garage door opener failing. Now that being said, I am still going to take this garage door opener to the scrapyard because of the fact, I mean, it's obviously seen better days. This motor does have some use in it, so maybe I will take the motor off of here. But as far as the track and the chain and some of these other screws and bolts and whatnot, they can all be scrapped. There's no real benefit to reusing a track because the track is oftentimes built for the particular garage door opener. So the odds of finding somebody that has this exact garage door opener would be slim. Not saying none, because people do have garage door openers and they do make a lot of them in volume. But this particular model, highly doubt that I would be able to find somebody that could possibly reuse any of these particular parts in their new garage door opener. As I mentioned, this is the capacitor, and just to read the details on here, it is a 50 to 60 microfarad capacitor. It has a UN 220 volts up to 242 volts, and it has a long model number, and it's designed for 50 or 60 hertz circuits. And I'll show you those details there. Maybe the camera will or will not focus. But let's try that again. Focus, camera. There you go. So you can see the details of this particular capacitor. Now, if you have a garage door opener and the motor stops working, you can do like I did and take it apart. Not necessarily take it apart the way I did, like pulling it completely down, but take it apart while it's still installed and check the capacitor and see if the capacitor has blown out like this one has. And if it has, you can go just get another capacitor. There are certain stores, like automotive stores or even battery stores, that may have these capacitors in stock. Of course, if you can't find it in a brick and mortar store, you can always go online and try to find it. You would just need to make sure that the microfarads and the other details of the capacitor match the one that you're taking out, because if you get the wrong capacitor, you could potentially blow the motor. If you get the wrong capacitor, you also get a condition where the capacitor is working correctly, but it does not discharge enough power for the motor to be able to start. So that's the two extremes on that. But yeah, this is probably a $10 to $15 part. Who knows? But it's a simple fix. It's far cheaper than replacing the entire garage door opener, plus having myself or some other professional come out to replace the garage door opener, when you can just easily swap these out, put a new one in. All right, that will wrap things up for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed this particular video and the content of how a garage door opener and the disassembly of it. If you have any questions or comments about them, feel free to drop those comments and questions down below. If you need a garage door opener installed and you are in the Montgomery or River Region area, please reach out, rhtservices.net. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, RHT Services LLC. Until next time, thank you for watching.